Yes.
Rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You want to make a motion now to make her?
I think we should wait till we have a quorum.
Okay. I just want to mention, we don't have a quorum, well, we want to make sure we have a quorum, but then Sue's going to end up being Mayor Pro Tem today, so bear with us with the process.
So, well,
Go ahead and make that motion. I'll motion.
well, next on our agenda is a moment of silence, so, want me to go? I'll just say that I was contacted by the mayor earlier today. Her son was rushed to the ER. She's there now with her husband, and so I would say that we have a moment of silence for the mayor, unless anybody has anything else to add. So let's do that. Thank you. Clerk, can you call the roll?
Trustee Mason,
Present.
Trustee Reinders,
Present.
Trustee McNaughton, Trustee Consolino,
Present.
Trustee Fialco,
Present?
Trustee Stylen,
Present.
Mayor Knightsky-Trokey.
Can we have a motion for mayor?
Okay, I'd like to make the motion to have our Mayor Pro Tem take the meeting from here. I need a second on that.
I'll go ahead and second that.
And then all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, Sue, you can move over and opposed?
None, hearing none.
Hearing none. Dan, do you want to go over there?
No.
Always keeping me on my toes.
Okay, bear with me a little bit for my inexperience at this. All right. First item on the agenda is community recognition.
Do we have any tonight?
Do we have some? No. Okay. All right, next on the agenda is amendments to the agenda.
Okay, that would be me. I would like to motion to pull out K2 from consent agenda and move that to legislation and action items under L1.
So K2
Okay.
to L1.
L1.
1A, right.
Is there a second?
It's consent agenda.
Consent agenda.
Oh, we don't,
It's not
okay.
required.
All right.
Wait, and then, because we had some discussion before the meeting, and because the mayor is not present, how do you guys feel about removing the TRIA update for right now?
Well, the tree update is actually, it's going to be Attorney Grady, or I'm sorry, Carmen was going to give us an update, no?
Under old
And then-
business.
Under old business, you do that?
We can leave it there on old business and we'll just have a brief discussion on it.
Okay. Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah, that'll work, that's fine.
Is, any amendments, Rose?
No.
Can I go? Sue?
Yes, go ahead. Trustee Fielko.
Okay. I would like to remove from the consent agenda K4, just so we can get an explanation. I know that this was being talked, so I'm just asking for L4 to be moved in as, it would end up being LB.
Wait a minute, you're saying K4 to
L1B, correct.
L1B.
And that would be
Another way we
it for
can-
me.
Just, another way we can do it in the future is that we can just, when we get, approve the consent agenda, we can pull them off and take them individually then, if you want to do it that way, but that's just another way to do it.
Yes, that's what I thought we were doing,
No,
Paul.
we'll just do it the way we did it. That's fine. The way they proposed.
All right, well, I'd like to remove K3 at this time for discussion. I'd rather have that open and removed at this point.
K3? Yes. We're going to make it C then, after one?
LC?
L1C, right?
L1C.
Trustee Mason?
Yes.
Yeah.
And-
L1, A, B, B, C. Okay.
And I'd like to table, it looks like L8 under action items.
Well, you're going to have to wait till we get,
Okay.
to make the motion to table that.
Figured if we were getting that far ahead, I might as well get mine out of the way, but okay.
No, this is just amendments to the agenda, not
Okay.
tabling anything or motioning anything. No motions. No. Agreed?
I don't have anything else.
Good.
All right, yeah, so there's no approval of the agenda either then? Is there?
Yes,
It's the same?
now that we've amended it, we approve the agenda as amended.
Correct.
So
Okay.
let's have that motion.
I'll make that motion.
I will second to approve the amendments to the agenda as amended.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen? Or do I have to?
Yeah, aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Okay. All right, the next is approval of the minutes for May 10th, 2023. Do I have an motion?
I'll make the motion.
I will second that.
Did you look at these anyway?
Yeah,
The only thing that's missing.
Discussion?
there's a couple things missing.
Trustee Mason?
None at this time.
Trustee Fialko?
No.
Trustee Consolino?
Yeah, there was one error, and then I'm going to ask if we can hold back till the next meeting on these. And then I had an issue, if you go to page 11 of 22, unless I missed it, but you had me where I, excused myself to go to the restroom at 9:04, but then I don't see where I returned. What? Oh, it's up there. Okay, it's all the way at the top. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Well, what are we looking to do with this, though?
There was one clerical error. I think I have it on the computer at home. If I could submit it with the spelling error, it was like one word that was missing. If I can submit that after the fact,
I don't see why not.
and then she could amend it. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor?
Wait, we still have, does anyone?
Does have any changes?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, I have one thing, and that was, and it's just like a spelling error. It was
Yeah.
where we saw, give me a second, where council manager, it's, page 17, it was under trustee Consolino, paragraph, just that council manager should be spelled council, C-O-U-N-C-I-L, hyphen manager. Okay, that said,
A motion to approve discussion, so we're just going to approve it as amended.
okay,
Let's take the roll.
take the roll.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Motion approved.
You guys want to switch
Yeah.
Yes, so now we just,
back?
thank you.
I don't think we need a motion now, the mayor's, I just think we recognize the mayor's here now and that.
Okay.
For the record, just note
Okay.
that the mayor has arrived, and that Sue's going back.
And we're on public comment.
Thank you.
Yes, we're on number, letter I.
Okay, public comment? Thank you.
None? No
Oh,
public
I
comments?
have it right here. Sue Maloney?
Hi, thank you. My name is Sue Maloney, and I've lived in DeBoer Woods for about 10 years. And I'm at the corner of Hadley and Catawba. And so my main reason for being here tonight is just to express concern regarding the Parker Road, Hadley Road project that has started in terms of like the analysis of the roads and the trees and the drainage. I'm concerned because I don't think there's a lot of visibility into this project. It was very difficult to get any information about what was going on when someone knocked at my door to tag all of my trees greater than 6 inches, 30 to 60 feet from the road. So it's just concerning to me that we have thousands and thousands of trees that have been tagged down Parker and Hadley. There really is not a ton of information other than they're gathering data to take a look at how to improve the road. Obviously, I'm concerned, not just for, my home that's on that street. I mean, I maintain about 60 trees that line that road there, as well as the grass there and the driveway. We also, for our subdivision, have the DeBoer Woods sign right there. We spoke a little bit with the engineer that is involved in this project, and they're talking about widening it possibly 8 feet on each side, which is a huge impact. Yeah. And so I just don't think people are really aware of the details of this. There is supposedly a meeting in the end of July where Will County is going to present their data to residents and the public to discuss what their plans are, what their data shows, what their intentions are. So I'm just here to ask for some involvement, some support, just to make sure that we're making the right decisions about what we're going to do there. That's it.
Thank you. Mike Carlson?
You read it, I can't read it.
Low crowd today. I just wanted to thank Dan Fialco for Homerfest 2023. Unbelievable job. I've been on the committee for 3 years. I volunteered my first year one time, and then they decided to put me on. And I think this has been the best one I've ever seen. Christina, the dunk tank was a hit. That was great. I hope we can look forward to getting a couple of those for next year. I also want to thank Carmen Morella and his staff, the Parks Department, for all their help that they did with the Homerfest. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do it because they do so much work. I just wanted the public to know that. And also Lieutenant Taylor and the fine job that he did with his team to keep our festival safe. I had an amazing time. This is an amazing set of staff right here, and I hope we all can move forward and get to bigger and better things. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Andy Pinelli?
Hello and thank you. Andy Pinelli, I'm the president of the DeBoer Woods Homeowners Association. I'm here to support Sue and also other property owners that will be significantly impacted by that Hadley 167th widening. It would take out significant trees if the right-of-way is expanded beyond 30 feet from the center line. Me and the board at the Homeowner Association are dead set against it. We're hoping to sensitize you to some of the other concerns that homeowners have, which, and one of our concerns, which is it would, at 60 feet, that would destroy our entranceway in a way that it could not be remedied in any way, shape, or form. So, creating additional awareness, sensitizing you to some of the issues and concerns of not only the neighbors in DeBoer Woods, but neighbors that we've been hearing outside of that. But some of our other neighbors' concerns are improvements that would kind of make Hadley Road, Parker Road, kind of more of a shortcut for non-village people to get from point A to point B is a big concern, especially if it helps encourage increased truck transportation. And finally, there's a set of the neighbors that are concerned just about the environmental impact of the 2,000 trees that are marked if we go beyond the 30-foot right-of-way, and also the aesthetic impact on the neighbors in addition to the property values. So we're hoping that you can be sensitized to some of these concerns, help create awareness and visibility around the events where we can get voice of the, of the area residents vocalized to Will County and help us create some visibility around that. And also eventually win your support to trying to make sure that that this improvement doesn't go beyond what is necessary or suitable. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sharon Suisse?
Thank you. I wanted to talk about that meeting too. I just wanted to bring to light that the meeting is going to be on July 26th. Will County Transportation is holding a meeting there from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Parker Road Bible Church, 185th and Parker. And it's important that the residents come out and voice their concerns, because this is going to have a very negative impact on our residents and on the environmental aspects in this area. And also to please, put this on the website and get more information out so people are aware of what's going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Okay, moving on to reports and communication from President and other officers. We'll start with the village manager, Carmen.
Well, exciting Friday night. We're going to do movies under the stars. Toy Story 4. So just everybody be aware that, we're going to have the movies in the park. There will be vendors out there for beverages and food. So it starts at 6:30. So grab your spot and enjoy a movie. Also, marketing in Glen will be starting up again throughout July through October. So July 20th, August 17th, September 21st, and October 19th from 3 to 8 here in Heritage Park. Just so everybody is aware, it will be located in the Ring Road, 3 to 8 p.m. That's all I have to report.
Thank you, Carmen. Moving on to the trustees. Trustee Mason.
The behavioral health and addiction recovery is moving forward. We've had our meetings. We're working on some kind of incentive raffle to fill out a survey to see what those bullet points are, what are the biggest concerns for the village and its residents as far as addiction recovery goes. So that's moving well. As the public comments were made, Lieutenant Taylor and his group did a great job during Homerfest. I applaud everyone that was involved, including all the village staff on Homerfest. We had no incidents whatsoever. Lieutenant Taylor's doing a great job of keeping us all safe, and we can't thank him enough. That's basically it for me.
Thank you, Trustee Mason. Trustee Stylen?
Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to congratulate the Homerfest Committee, Public Works, Parks, and event staff on the nice event. Great job. I enjoyed the music. Parking appeared to run smoothly. Everything just appeared to run smoothly, and I'm sure that there were hiccups, but I couldn't tell, so everything was managed very well. My hat's off to all of you. And also to Trustee Reinders, thank you for all your work on the Pet Fest and Parade. I've heard great things. And the Homer community has a lot to be proud of, and our events just demonstrate that very clearly. For the Community Development Committee report, our first meeting is going to be tomorrow, and I thought I would just read the purpose of our committee, and that's to improve the quality of life for Homer Glen residents by building a sense of community, enhancing communications between the village and residents, promoting community and civic pride, and encouraging active participation in village events. That still might be wordsmithed a little bit, but that's an example of what our committee is planning on doing. We're still seeking members, so if you are interested, there is a form on the website under committees and commissions. Please fill out an application or contact me at trustee.stylen@homerglenil.org. And now I would like to also address something that happened after our last meeting. So some of you may be aware that a few days after our meeting, there was a submission by Steve Balich and the Homer Township officials to the patch, and it was also posted on their website. And there was a paragraph that stated that, the article was Homer Township clarifying false statements once again. The article concerned Trantina Farm, and the second paragraph stated that there have been concerns and false information regarding the clay fill gifted to the township. During a recent Village of Homer Glen meeting, Village Trustee Stylen brought these falsehoods to light. The constant lying to taxpayers about this subject needs to stop, and due diligence will be placed or bring correct information to the public on this matter. I do not know what falsehoods this paragraph is referring to, but any of you could go to the video of that meeting to the 2-hour and 24-minute mark and hear my comment. I made one comment, and that was I asked for an update or a report on the regarding the testing of the soil that's being placed on the 2 acres of property on our open space, and that's all I said. So I only like to bring facts to light, and I had never seen the geotechnical report or any report, though I did ask our staff engineer for one, and it had never been given anything. The township has published the report on their website. We now know that the soil came from a road project in Orland Park. I have photos of the project if anybody would like to see it. It's not what I visualize when I think about clean clay, but in construction terms, that is what they call clean clay, I guess. So I'm going to leave that up to the engineers. The roads, the borings had about anywhere from 4 to 8 inches of asphalt to 11 inches more of aggregate, and then some silty clay. So I'll leave that interpretation up to them. I only want to stick to the facts. And I did go to the township meeting to bring this to the township's attention since I was named. And Steve Balich said that this was published and posted, was not written as intended. So I'm going to take him at his word at that. And also I'd like to make an announcement for Homer Glen is having, the Women's Club is having a garden walk on Saturday from 9:30 to 1:30. And we like to support the Women's Club because they support us. They provided the gazebo out here in the park, and they do a lot of other projects around the village. And their garden walk is going to support funds raised from that are going to go to Shady Oaks, the Legacy Ranch, and Will County Children's Advocacy Center. So everything that they do does benefit our community. And that's my report.
Trustee Stylen, do you have something to read from a resident as well?
Oh, yes. Well, as Sharon Swees and Sue Maloney, I believe, and Andy Pinelli mentioned about the Hadley Road project. This is posted, I believe, on our website now, and it is also being pushed out on Facebook. So, but please be advised that Will County Division of Transportation is conducting a public information meeting concerning the Parker Hadley Road project. This meeting will be held on Wednesday, July 26th from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock p.m. at the Parker Road Bible Church, 18512 Parker Road. It says Mokina, but it's really right at the border of Homer Glen. The meeting will be conducted in an open house format with representatives from the Transportation Division to answer questions and obtain written remarks from the residents. So it was requested to say that it's very important that our residents attend to voice their concerns and opinions, as this project will adversely affect the residents of Homer Glen and Homer Township. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Stylen. Manager Morella, did you have something you wanted to add? No?
No, I was talking about the temperature in the room.
Oh.
You're using sign language, though. So.
Sorry. Trustee Fialco?
All right. Homerfest. I know a few people have spoken about it already, but with Homerfest, there is no way that we can conduct Homerfest without first having the support of our state's attorney. I want to start there with our state's attorney, James Glasgow. By him supporting our local police department, by him supporting this village, and by working with Lieutenant Taylor and coming up with all the extra safety precautions that we came up with and how we strategized that, how Lieutenant Taylor took the lead on that. That is what made it all possible. While other communities were shutting their fest down and their community gatherings were shutting them down, Lieutenant Taylor was taking the time to figure out how we could collectively stay open and protect the public by not penalizing the many for the infractions of the few. And you did a fantastic job, sir. Thank you very much. moving down the line, after that part, we have an event staff that is composed of Jacqueline, Elena, and Chris. And without them and their support, and this being their first round with Homerfest, I'm just amazed with this group, how they handled it from the beginning to the end, with this being the first time round. And thank you to your group, Jacqueline, Chris, and Elena. You guys were amazing. Now, on the committee, and I'll try to make this a little bit quicker than I'm going, but on the committee, we had 10 people. Debbie Stevens took care of everything to do with the carnival, all the little bumps and hiccups that we had with anything to do with the carnival. Debbie Stevens is the vice chair. She's like, I call her the godmother of the fest because she's been around so long and has taken care of so many things and has given me the insight as to the way things have been done in the past when I came in, and she helped me along all that way up until this past fest. But Debbie Stevens takes care of all the little things behind the scenes of stuff that goes wrong. Next on the list is Mike Carlson. Has he come a long way or what? If anybody heard Mike Carlson talk at the fest, he's like our Dick Biondi or our Larry Lujak of Homerfest. You were amazing, sir, and the way you handled that stage. Not only did Mike do all the talking on the stage, Mike took and he was the stage manager, making sure that the 3 to 4 bands a day got on and off the stage without a hitch. And like we found, every band had their little things. One of the bands wanted his tea and his hot pot of water and his cup and his lid. And so anyway, those kind of things get taken care of in the background by Mike Carlson. Tony Drabeck handled everything to do with liquor and everything to do with making sure that people were Bassett trained, making sure that we had everything in order, and was there. The other thing is with this whole committee too, everyone here is volunteers. We're not professional fest committee people. We are doing the best we can do with the one time a year we do this, and with the knowledge that we learn by working with the fest throughout the years. And this this is my 3rd year on it. But Tony handled all the liquor and anything to do with that part of the process with the organizations who then served the beer, and those organizations that then made money for their organizations. And then it came back to when, during that time, they also had the time where they had raffles. And then Mike Carlson again would call out those numbers, and so organizations were able to benefit from that part, and Tony put that all together. Ethan Fialco. I can't say enough about this young guy. He's amazing. And yes, it is my son. But the thing is, when something was broken, whether it was the refrigerator truck for the beer and their people wouldn't come out, he was right there to work with Public Works and fix that problem. When it came time to where the big skylight beam broke down, he paralleled his car into it to keep that running. Everything from the red, white, and blue lights on the outside of the tents to the inside of the tents. And then he was there at 3 o'clock in the morning when a generator broke down, and Jay Rohde was also, you're next, Jay, but Jay, he was there taking care of everything to do with the electric and the security part. With taking the fence down, we had that security system in there that doesn't record people talking or anything like that. It's just another precautionary measure we took to help out Lieutenant Taylor had he needed it, but Ethan took care of that. Mark Gowron took care of the whole layout, everything we discussed in committee. Mark Gowron took care of that, and he put that whole design together so anybody that looked at it could see the new wheel. And with that new wheel, we were able to give that to anybody, and they're able to make that kind of come together. So thank you, Mark Gowron, for that. Jay Rohde spent endless hours there taking care of the electrical part of the fest with the vendors that didn't have the right hookups, that didn't have all kinds of things that he needed to change and make those configurations work for what they had. Paul McCary took care of the information booth. He was there for endless hours, making sure that wristbands and everything were taken care of, and those volunteers that he was working with were up to date on how to do that. John Walters and Jimmy Shake took in over 8 hours a day, took and escorted the bands in from the back. If anybody knew how this worked before and the way the bands parked in behind the tent before, you know that this process helped out a whole lot the way John was running it and escorting bands in and out and making sure that he was bringing them down the trails so nobody would get hurt. And it was quite the process, and it went very well, so thank you for that. And Mike Bonomo on the Fest Committee. Not only did Mike Bonomo donate hundreds of dollars worth of equipment towards the fest, Mike Bonomo took care of the senior acknowledgement time. I was at a meeting for the township, and I had extended that olive branch and saying, why don't we have the seniors at the fest? And so from there, that developed. Mike put that all together. And then with the veterans acknowledgement, Mike Bonomo and Michelle Kerfin put that together to make that a success. So thank you everybody on the team for doing that. In addition to that, the other people that helped out tremendously were Carmen Morella, putting out fires every corner he turns around to help wherever there was a little issue. Vicky Bozen for taking care of the Pet Fest and that whole day. Dave Medina working behind the scenes, making sure everything was done. Mike Clausen helping out with every little thing where he could fill in. Jimmy Shake helping out John Walters with escorting the bands. Lieutenant Taylor, already mentioned, but Mike Gamprel worked with him. That team, unbelievable. Dave Bricker from the fire department, Bill Frossard from building services, Ron Cuss from EMA, Jennifer Vittori from Parks and her team, and Brent Woods from Public Works, and Brent Portfolio from the Road District and his team of people that helped out with the parking. It goes on, and that is pretty much the list. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry, but thank you so much to everybody that participated in Homerfest and made it the success it was for 2023.
Thank you, Trustee Fielkow.
That would be it for me.
Okay. Trustee Reinders.
Good evening, everybody. I'm not going to take as long as he did. Just a few things, just a couple changes. I also wanted to make everybody aware that there is going to be a craft market in Heritage Park this weekend on Saturday morning. It's the Red Bird Market, and they do crafts and different types of things like that. So, and there's going to be some cupcakes in different food vendors as well. So I wanted to bring everybody up to date on that. Also, there's a couple changes that have that's going on with the Parks Committee. We will be changing our meetings from 6:30 to 4 o'clock. So if there's anybody that's interested in attending our meetings, you will be more than welcome. We have one more meeting at 6:30, and that's our meeting this Monday on the 17th. And after that, the meetings will be held at 4 o'clock. We haven't had a Parks meeting in quite a long time, but we did have one last month, and we actually talked about a couple of things that we need to prioritize. We realized that we really need to do some more work in Heritage Park, that we need to move forward with some of the plans from the actual master plan of the park. It doesn't mean that we're going to be using TRIA architecture, but we are going to be moving forward. And I asked the mayor actually to attend for our meeting coming on Monday, and we actually had a conversation on how we are going to be moving forward with the Veterans Memorial. So we are, it's still on the table, so we're not, we're thinking of the veterans, but there's some things that we're going to have to do and work together to make that happen. So, and also the Jennifer Vittori asked me if I would give an update on the tennis courts. She said that the reason they haven't started on the tennis courts is because U.S. Tennis, who is basically the only organization out here that does these courts that we could get to work with us, is working on school projects. So schools that need their courts done, they are a priority. And she said that she thinks come August, we should see them start to work on our courts. So, and with that, that's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee Reinders. Trustee Consolino.
Okay, guys, bear with me. Environment Committee hasn't gotten to meet for the past several months, so I have a lot to report. We met yesterday for the first time in several months as we waited to get our committee appointments all done. So we're very excited about the new tree memorial program, and we have already accepted our first applicant. All information regarding this program will be posted online over the next few weeks, as last night we just finalized all the details. Anyone wishing to participate in the program can look online in the future at our village website, or you can contact our village staff members, Melissa King or Taylor E. Darby, with any questions regarding an application. I would also like to thank the Parks Committee for their cooperation regarding this program, and I personally think that more trees and beautification do nothing but benefit us both. This month is also Plastic Free July. Please look up on the link on our village website for ideas on alternatives to reduce plastic usage. The Plastic Free July campaign is a worldwide initiative to raise awareness of our growing plastic waste problem. Millions of people as individuals, schools, communities, and companies from 177 countries take part in this challenge each year. The goal is to reduce plastic waste. Please join our Plastic Free July campaign and refuse and reduce plastic usage. You can print out online our handy and printable plastic waste tip sheet for future reference, and you can also refer to our perforated list that was sent out with our April Spring Village newsletter. The environment and calendar dates for events that are coming up over the next few months include Homer Glen Lands Days, which will be on September 30th. Last year, we had a really good turnout for this event, and we strongly encourage families to bring their children to assist in taking the time to join us in cleaning up one of our local parks and trailways. Information will be posted both on social media and our village website regarding the time and place in September. At our last event, we had a number of high school students participate, in which they were able to use the time to clean up to count for their required volunteer hours for school. So please keep that in mind. We also had a very successful stargazing event at Heritage Park this past May. Our village staff have had to step in more and more and go above and beyond with assisting with this beloved event. This event is not possible without our village staff, our Environment Committee volunteers, and our EMA staff. Stargazing draws more and more residents and non-residents each season and each year. It helps to set us apart from our neighboring towns, and it emphasizes our status as an international dark sky community. Our next stargazing event will take place on September 22nd. For those who are unaware, IDA, International Dark Sky Community, is a town, city, municipality, or other legally organized community that has shown exceptional dedication to the preservation of the night sky through the implementation and enforcement of a quality outdoor lighting ordinance, dark sky education, and citizen support of dark skies. Dark sky communities excel in their efforts to promote responsible lighting and dark sky stewardship and set good examples for surrounding communities. As of January 2023, there are only 201 certified dark sky places in the world. Homer Glen became certified in 2011 as the 4th community in the world to achieve this status, and is the only municipality in the state of Illinois to be awarded this honorable designation. Currently, the Environment Committee is also looking to inquire more information regarding EAP laws that are proposing stricter enforcement on PFAs and testings of our local wells to check for contamination. These proposals for hazard levels have not yet been taken into consideration or acted upon by our local governing bodies. Our committee is trying to acquire more information from the Will County Health Department right now regarding private well testing for the PFAs, the costs associated for the tests, and inquiring with Will County if they can help assist in covering the costs for these tests for residents concerned with PFA contamination. I'm going to skip this part because I don't want to be too long tonight, so if you want to look up what the PFA forever chemicals are, it is listed on our website. The Homer Glen Junior Women's Club Garden Walk, which Sue was talking about because she's a proud member, is this weekend on Saturday, July 15th from 9:30 to 1:30 p.m. Tickets are $15 and will be available online until Friday evening. And it can be purchased for cash on the day of the event at the check-in site. This is a rain or shine event that includes 7 local beautiful gardens. Please come out and admire your neighbors' gardens, as well as supporting a local non-for-profit organization who consistently donates their time to the betterment of our community. We also have had some complaints regarding BP, British Petroleum employees, marking and taking down trees on private property. An update on this from staff was that they met with representatives from BP, and BP will be sending us over a blurb that we can post on our website and issue to residents. At this time, I have the following information to provide. BP regularly conducts these types of assessments within their easement, much like some of the other utilities in the area, like Nicor. They assess a lot of their pipeline via aerial flyovers and satellite imagery. Nicor just took down a plethora of landscaping and trees in their easement along 151st Street west of Gauger and Homer. The walkthrough is a safety analysis essentially. They are looking at trees which could have roots growing around or into the pipeline. They are not assessing the condition of the trees, and they are not arborists. They are strictly looking at this from a conflict analysis and safety standpoint. The pipelines have a protective coating which prevents corrosion. If a tree's roots grow up against it, it can wear away the coating and cause erosion to take place, which would compromise the integrity of that pipeline. In a 2014 engineering study regarding tree root interference, it was determined locations where pipelines and tree root systems coexist, there is a high occurrence of tree roots causing damage to the external coating of the pipeline. And speaking with the BP representatives, it has to do with visual access as well. They are open to working with us to try and preserve as many trees as possible. For example, if there are trees which are more on the fringe of the easement, they would be open to only trimming some branches as opposed to taking down the entire tree. BP does have a right to maintain their easement. Tree removal must occur in some instances to protect not only the pipeline, but also public safety. And BP will not be doing any removal or trimming until they file for a utility permit and meet with us to evaluate some of the trees. The easement documents that were provided to us from ComEd do not have specific language forbidding the removal of trees. If a homeowner has a separate document that states this, our village staff is asking that you please share it with us so that we can be made aware. We understand our residents' concerns and passion towards protecting our environment, and we will work within our power to minimize the removal of trees where it is feasible. Safety of our residents is our #1 concern, but unfortunately, it is necessary to remove trees on occasion to avoid a much larger environmental hazard. Excuse me. So staff also got a recent update that BP will be performing clearance work along its pipeline right-of-way in Homer Glen in the vicinity of north of 143rd Street. The purpose of the work is to provide access and a clear line of sight to the right-of-way to maintain the integrity of the pipeline. BP is working with the Village of Homer Glen and directly with the landowners to complete the work and will make every effort to minimize impacts to that area. Safety will remain our highest priority as we move through this process. And reporting for Environment Committee, we are still looking for more residents to join us in our commitment to clean and preserve our environment. If you are passionate about the environment and ensuring a community in harmony and nature in Homer Glen, please apply online at the village website or with our village staff. Before closing my report, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to our amazing village staff, our selfless Homerfest volunteers and Homerfest committee, our emergency response personnel, and our fearless fest leader, Trustee Dan Fialco. Without all of you, and I mean every single one of you, we could not have another successful filled fest this year. The design was beautiful, the compliments are many, and the residents that I have spoken to were very happy and enjoyed themselves. I would also like to say thank you to Trustee Fialco and Homer Township Trustee Bonomo for the additional recognition for our veterans and for our seniors that you incorporated into the festival. Now, I was going to wait until old business, Sue, but I had reached out because of environment. I had reached out to Road District Commissioner Porfilio yesterday before our meeting to give an update. And so I had asked him about what the checks and balances were, and I was going to report an old business, but he's sitting right there.
Do you want me to give you?
But I'd like to support. You guys want to spare him a minute to explain how the testing went?
That's fine with me.
Okay.
So there's 3 checks and balances for the clay fill. And I've mentioned this before, and I'll just drop more knowledge on you about it. So the geotechnical report was done at the beginning of the project at the Laguna Woods site, and it was sent to the village engineer, Brett Westcott. It was also posted on the Homer Township webpage. It goes into great detail on the quality of the dirt over there and how much is clay. Great detail. That's the first check and balance. I wouldn't be going to a contractor that's borrowing crap fill from a site that I don't know anything about. The second check and balance is field testing that's done on the loads that are brought over to Trantina Farm. There's 2 tests that we've been doing. There's a hand compaction test and a mason jar test that cross-references the soil classification system to make sure clay is delivered to the site, and they don't pull a bait and switch where they bring in crap fill from some other project.
The third check and balance is done after the project is completed and the clay has been placed, and borings will be taken and a geotechnical investigation will be done after it's placed. So there's 3 checks and balances with the clay fill. So many people go on Facebook, in the village square, and call me on the phone, say I'm full of crap, all the stuff that's out there is not clay, and I hear it from people in public comment, I hear it from people all the time. And that's why Mr. Balich posted that in the patch. And what I'm trying to say is checks and balances have been made to ensure that it's clay, and there's paperwork behind it, and that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Jennifer, does that conclude your report?
Almost. So just to end on that, he did send, or not you had the geotechnical investigators send us their report. So we did receive the soil report, which did go to, and I think it's dated the 30th of June. And so what was explained, if anything is ever done on Trantina Farm in the future, there will be a third test. So there's already been 2 at the beginning before it left the borrower site, then when it also arrived at Trantina Farm, and that all gives everything a clear. And so there'll be another third geotechnical investigation test done if and when anything is built at Trantina. Okay.
Okay.
The geotechnical report.
Oops. The geotechnical report just basically says that so much clay, so much asphalt, so much gravel or whatever. It's not saying aggregate, thank you. It doesn't say if there's contaminants or anything else in the soil.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Excuse me, I'm not looking to have this time as a debate.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. I was going to bring this up in old business because she brought it up in old business at the last meeting, so that was why I inquired.
We can touch more about it in old business, because I'm sure there's some further questions. Mr. Portfolio, if you could stay till then.
Sure.
Thank you. Does that conclude your report, Trustee Consolino? Village Clerk?
I have 2 things. My minutes are all complete there. The last 2 are under review at the moment, so hopefully they're going to be on the next agenda. And earlier in June, we had all received an email from a resident regarding the Goodings Grove playground over at the school at 143rd and Bell. There was some vandalism done there, and just some other inappropriate things left at the playground. And so I wanted to follow up with that resident, and I also wanted to follow up with the superintendent of 33C, Dr. Shabi. So I've been in communication with him the last couple weeks. There was another incident just within the last week and a half, again, of vandalism at the playground. And I just wanted to update that all the footage has been pulled from the dates of the incident. They were able to see 2 teenagers the one day, but unfortunately the cameras did not pick up. They weren't close enough to pick up because there are cameras on the school. I know that Dr. Shapi had mentioned he's been working with Lieutenant Taylor, and they're also looking to maybe install some more cameras so that they can get a better, angle of view, closer to where I just felt very passionate about, because, I don't know if everybody is aware of this, but that playground, the village has put money into it. The parents have put money into it. My kids all attended school there, and the destruction, with it being something that's ongoing, just seems to be getting a little bit out of hand. And I just wanted to give an update that it's noticed and it's being monitored. So that's it.
Thank you. Can I ask for further, if there's any more notification that you get from Dr. Shapi, can you please include Trustee Reiner, since she is the chairman of the parks? I don't think you were made aware the last time, and so I think it'd be important to include her on any of those emails.
Yeah, well, the last incident was, he had been made aware of it before. I just reached out to him after we all received it, because he had sent the email to the whole, the village board, the school board, and obviously the superintendent, and I just wanted to follow up with him just because, I do know the family personally, and, knowing what all the fundraising that we did to provide, the students, and not just the students, but the public, because they're allowed to use that facility, that just the destruction there is.
Yeah, this isn't the first time.
No, I know. I mean, and it went back, I know I'm aware of, the slide being set on fire and all that other stuff, but it's a shame, so.
And I donated to that park as well.
If you could just forward her the last correspondence, that would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk. Village Attorney,
No report.
will you be updating us on TRIA under old business then?
Yes.
Thank you. Public safety officials, Lieutenant Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Homerfest went very well. Again, thank you for all the kind comments. I appreciate it, but it was definitely a team effort. Thank you, Mayor Knightsky-Troicki and Trustee Fialko for working with me to implement my new ideas. I think they went pretty well. I got some more for next year. The committee, we all work really well together, so let's keep that going. I want to thank Dave Bricker with Homer Township and his crew, Todd Fonfara with Northwest Homer, Ron Cuss with EMA and his crew, and Lieutenant Gam Pearl, Lieutenant Hedda Mark, and Sergeant Laley with the auxiliaries. We could not do it without them in the parking lots, so it worked very well. June 21st, there was an armed robbery at Dottie's after hours, no threat to the community. Obviously, robberies are very rare here, so investigations is working on it. I have no update at this time, just like always, I can't comment on a pending investigation, but anything I can pass along, I will. 4th of July went well, so no more fireworks, because we will be writing tickets. There's increased complaints of ATVs and golf carts and dirt bikes on Heroes Trail between Goodings Grove and Beaver Lake. I just want to remind everybody, if you allow your children to ride an ATV, we will be writing you a state ticket for permitting an unlicensed driver to ride, because oftentimes we can't catch them, but if we can't pursue, but if we're going to write the parents, and we can tow and impound your ATV, because it's getting out of line. You can only ride ATVs on private property with the landowner's permission, so no farms, no roadways, no common property, and certainly no trails. So I just want to remind everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. I'm going to circle back to the village clerk. She forgot to add something.
Another thing, I'm just requesting 2 things. Please make sure we're turning our microphones on, because when I'm trying to type up the minutes, I'm having a very hard time picking some things up. So, and I don't want to blurt out during the meeting, turn your microphone on. But I guess I will. I'll start. And then just as a courtesy, if there's any reports or notes that you feel are important that need to be included in the minutes, if you can have those to me by Friday after the meeting, or Monday morning. Thank you.
Okay, I'm next. I first of all wanted to apologize for my tardiness today, and apologize if you do hear my phone dinging. I am waiting on a few phone calls. I will leave the meeting, and Trustee Steinlen will take over if I need to leave. Homerfest, absolutely amazing job to the entire committee and Trustee Fialko and staff and every single person who was everyone who was involved. There was an excellent job. The Ability Awareness Committee got really involved this year. We set a goal to raise $4,200, and we met that goal. Vito and Nix, the McGarry family, and the Mason family put us over that goal with their generous donations, so we really appreciate that. We are assisting the library in, actually we are purchasing a water feature for the library for their sensory room, so we're going to have a presentation on that either here or at the library coming up rather soon. The Pop Tab Challenge all of a sudden is recirculating. I've had 3 mayors from other towns contact me and ask if we are looking to challenge them. A little nervous because some of those towns have 54,000 residents. I'm not sure that we have that many pop drinkers in this town, but I think we can take on the challenge. I wanted to recognize somebody. I wasn't here for that at the time, but I wanted to recognize the new Homer Township trustee, Mike Clausen. Congratulations to being appointed to the new township board. And I believe that was it for my report as of for right now. Oh, I apologize. Brent Woods has something to share with you guys as well.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mayor, Nike Troike had approached me about a couple of signs out in front. We have a veteran thing going lately, so she had asked me about researching the veteran-only parking spaces. So I did a lot of research on it. I couldn't, and maybe the attorney can jump in here, I couldn't find anything anywhere where there was an ordinance regarding veteran-only parking, only because it's kind of an honor system thing. So what we were discussing was the possibility of making these 2 spaces on either side of the 3 handicap spaces in the front, veteran-only parking, if that meets with everyone's approval.
So the veteran parking signs, what was the cost on those?
They were $25, I think.
Okay, so the purpose of this was to put 2 parking spaces for veteran parking only. Obviously, there's no way to check to make sure that it's actual veteran parking there, so it's just kind of an honor system. Just kind of wanted to throw it out there, see how it goes. It'd be 1 on each side of the handicap parking spaces, which then would allow additional spaces for if somebody who is handicapped to open their doors or whatnot.
Yes.
I mean, we can't vote on it right now, but it's what, $100 or less to do this? I don't think there's an issue with parking. Does any trustee have an issue or questions regarding that? Nope. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
If I can?
Yes.
We are actually going to be putting in, and I don't know if Brent Westcott was going to talk about that tonight, but we are going to be talking about that at the Parks meeting on Monday with the new parking lot that's going to be going next to the Village Hall, to the east of the Village Hall. So maybe in there we could
Move the signs over there when that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Brent. Okay, moving on to consent agenda. Again, I was not here, but I believe the only thing under consent agenda is item 1. Okay, so for consent agenda is consider for approval the accounts payable for the period of June 16th, 2023 through July 13th, 2023 in the amounts of $777,248.18. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Since there's no discussion, clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Motion carries. I believe it was consent item number 2 that was moved to LA. Consider for approval payment of the Village of Homer Glen's May legal bills from Peterson, Johnson, and Murray in the amount of $8,999.50. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is that Trustee Consolino?
I will
Yes.
second.
Okay.
I will second it.
Any discussion? Trustee Consolino?
We discussed this before the meeting, but I would request that I would rather not have to wait a month for an answer on a question.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I would rather not have to wait a month for a question.
Question?
Yes.
What do you mean a question?
When I asked about TRIA and the opinion, you're giving us the opinion tonight, or we're still working on it. I would ask for faster action than the next meeting. And that's not even in the bill. But that's not, I'm just making that request. Also, it's not, it's a very hefty bill. I know that Trustee Fialko had a question, because for that special meeting that we had, how much did it cost?
I had a question.
Well, we discussed this. How much did it cost for preparation for the special meeting?
$1,209.50, but that doesn't include the meeting itself.
Yes.
But this is your thing that you're talking about, right?
No, I just, how much did it actually cost for that meeting? We'll get that in the next one?
I don't, it's not on this bill, is it?
No, but the preparation for the meeting was on this bill.
I only see one entry here on the 31st for that, right, for $225? I don't know what you're talking.
I guess the question, Trustee Consolino, because I believe it's your question. Trustee Consolino, what?
Prepare for and attend, okay. Prepare, so 524 was,
524 is a regular board meeting, I came to that one late that night.
okay.
And let me just say that, I don't know how much time I wrote off last month because it takes more time for me to write it down and put down next to it no charge, but I can tell you that I put at least 20 hours in May that I didn't charge for. If you want to see that, I'll do it. It's just kind of a pain because I'm not charging for it anyways. So I prefer not to waste my time writing down an entry to say no charge, but I can tell you that there's an enormous amount of work here in this town that needs to be addressed, and I'm trying to do it in a conservative way. Recently, the mayor and Trustee Fialko mentioned an ordinance project that they wanted to start rewriting some ordinances, and I said, let's get a budget together, let's figure out how many ordinances we want to write, let's figure out a timeline, and because I don't want to be up here defending my bill every month, if that's what's going to be happening here. So I would just rather take it head on, prepare a budget, and manage expectations. So that's my proposal.
May I?
Yeah.
Normally, the billing always went through the old A&F, and I would always ask Carmen, have you reviewed the bill? Because really, the inner office is really who kind of manages this and understands the day-to-day operations and how legal ends up being used. So I would ask Carmen today, have you reviewed this bill, and are you satisfied?
I have reviewed the bill, and I reviewed the bill because the first line of the billing is my last name spelled wrong, but that's okay. But it gives me an opportunity to go through and basically check and balance what employees had asked me permission to discuss stuff with legal, me discussing stuff with legal. I know there's always conversations with drafts and ordinances that we put through, so we know who we're sending those to. I do have email correspondence that kind of go with the flow of these dates, so I had no issues with this bill. That's why I put it on consent.
Right, so you're satisfied with the billing and everything you saw on here? I mean,
there's a few tweaks, but we're in discussion with Paul's office just because we want to get our accounting numbers on the bill, so it's easier for us to justify it, that's all.
And it's not just from watching the bills that went through legal and A&F before. Sometimes they were $10,000, other times they were $2,000. And there's this ebb and flow with the work that comes in and the work that is done by the legal team, where you're going to have that fluctuation. Our budget for legal counsel, whether it was 2 lawyers like it was before or even now, is $175,000, just so the public knows it. No, that is posted here at the bottom of 2. So as long as you're saying you're satisfied with the billing and the way it's written up?
Yeah, I had no concerns with the dates and what was going on.
And if I may, as we move forward, I'm happy, this is all billed to a general file. I can break out sub-files. We have a wastewater project we're working on. We have a boundary line project we're working on. We have an annexation. These are really specialty things that I can break out further rather than just regular board meetings and ordinances. So I can do it any way you want.
Yeah, I was just waiting for John to come back from vacation because he wanted to make sure that it was coded so it matches his accounting, but we'll discuss that later.
Gina Villanova is my billing specialist at the firm, and you can just email her directly and she'll do whatever you want.
All right. Thanks, Paul.
I don't get involved in that.
Trustee Reinders, do you have anything? I'm sorry, Trustee Fialko, were you done?
Yeah.
Trustee Reinders?
The only question I would have is that,
Can you please turn your microphone on? I'm sorry.
sorry. I didn't see anything pertaining to union negotiations in here.
Then you can consider that gratis for me.
Okay.
If it's not on the bill.
I was going to touch base on that one.
But, I know Deanna was reaching out for the other Deanna. We've had a meeting.
Several.
The first Deanna, my Deanna, is at some soccer tournament. She talked to the second Deanna, and we're looking for a mediation date.
Okay.
But I can break that out into a sub-file as well.
I think that would be easier for us. I mean, to actually just go through it quicker. We would see this pertains to this, this pertains to this.
What you're going to do is you're going to see like 5 or 6 bills from me.
Yeah, that's fine.
But that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Trustee Mason? Trustee Stylen? No question. So I do have something. I did, Paul knows, or I'm sorry, Attorney O'Grady knows when I saw this, I did call him right away, and my eyes were bugged out. And I did notice that there was nothing on 150. Part of the problem was previous attorney was supposed to transfer all the files, all the information, and unfortunately, we didn't receive those. So there was a lot of additional meetings of trying to catch up and play catch up. So I can say that, and I do know that they had to do a lot of homework research on all the previous ordinances, how to move forward with certain things. So the first bill, and I did do some research, and when we hired new attorneys, the first bill for the first month or two is a little high for them to catch up. So, and I do see that there is a budget of $175,000. I do not want to get anywhere near that. I know you might want to, but I don't.
That was the only thing I was hoping was omitted.
Okay, all right, so we have a motion and a second. Is everyone, Trustee Consolino, did you have something?
Can I just, the only reason why I want to have this pulled out, and I want to have it pulled out for each meeting, and I was going to ask that of Village Manager Morella, is that you know that we've been attacked monthly by residents about what our legal bills were. So therefore, for truth and transparency, I would like to request that from here on out, that we always pull it, Carmen, from the consent agenda so that we don't have to go through amending it at each meeting. Okay? Thank you. Thank you. And
That makes sense.
oh, that's why. So, okay.
And I appreciate that, and, you know, I'm used to having my bills FOIA reviewed, scrutinized, so it's nothing new to me. I got the tread marks, I'm used to it.
All right, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Motion
Thank you,
carries.
everyone.
So I believe we moved K4 to LB. Is that correct? All right, I'm going with it. Well, I think in the motions earlier, they moved. Okay. So consider for approval a contract with HR Green for engineering services to provide a drainage study for the Pine Hill subdivision in the amount of $18,215.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
The reason I wanted to pull this out of the consent agenda is so Brett Westcott couldn't explain, and I don't want to say for any one reason or another, but we've gone through this before. We don't have to do RFPs and we don't have to go out to bid, the way I understand it, because we already have taken 5 engineering firms into consideration, and there's a list that Brent Westcott is able to work off of for this reason. So that process has already been done. Brett, could you explain it just a little bit?
So more or less what Trustee Fialko is saying, we had discussions on when, why, how, do certain things go to a consent, bid, contract, all that fun stuff.
Correct.
So it's a learning experience for all of us.
Well, this was voted on by the
It was.
board long ago.
Yep.
So you didn't have to go through it every time for the smaller jobs that had to be done. And matter of fact, we did not have an engineer with a PE like we have today. We're very fortunate. Thank you for that. But at the time, we did not have an engineer with a PE degree, and that is why that was done. These are for those types of jobs, just to help him out.
Is he explaining it or are you?
Both. Well, I would say both. So
I'm
at this
just
time,
teasing.
I'll give the floor back to Brett.
Yeah, so I can elaborate on it a little bit. We currently have an RFP on our website as it stands right now to renew some of our engineering contracts. What we call it is like an ad hoc engineering contract, and essentially what that does is we have these several firms that have come through to us that we approve. We vet through all the firms, kind of weigh it out. You give them each a score, like what we've done in the past. We've had Seabell, V3, HR Green, Robinson, Farnsworth. I think that's all of them, right? So what that does is essentially, it's like these are approved firms that are voted on and approved by the board, and those are what we would generally ask for quotes or things like that. And following, Carmen had just handed this out as well. So it's a nice visual, but it's also a print off of our Village Code, Chapter 50, which has to do with purchasing and approval levels and bid requirements, and it kind of lists all that stuff out of there. So for a professional service contract, if it's 10,000 or greater, essentially, that has to go and be approved by the board, but it does not have to go through a formal bid process, right? A request for service doesn't have to go through a formal RFP. There is no upper echelon limit on that dollar amount there, but I think that generally speaking, right, when it comes to certain prices, if we're starting to get into the 50s of thousands or the hundreds of thousands or the millions of dollars, obviously then we would go out for RFP because we want to get a wide range of quotes on that. But I think that in this instance, for these drainage projects and stuff like that, I'm selecting a firm that I feel is best equipped to complete this task and that I feel comfortable working with and have been working with. I think that they're very knowledgeable with the history of Homer Glen and have dealt with a lot of these issues, and that's kind of why we went with HR Green, or at least that's why I chose HR Green for this quote. Does that clarify it a little bit more? Do you want me to elaborate a little bit?
Yes, thank you for that. We've worked with HR Green. This village has worked with HR Green, I think, since the infancy of the village, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, thank you for that explanation. And I know you had the question about it, so that's why I wanted to make sure we took it out and got an explanation.
Nope, I appreciate that. Carmen, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I just gave some visuals because sometimes it's nice to understand the process we go through before it gets to you guys to the board. I always like to make sure the board understands that you guys see everything. There's not anything that we can't don't put forward to the board. You approve the AP every month. You guys approve contracts every month. So, and it's just this is a good segue to show what exactly the process is as we go through for our meetings and stuff like that. So I just wanted to share that with you. So if you guys have any questions, by all means, you can reach out to me in my office.
Thank you. Is there any, I forgot who made the motion.
I did.
Who's second?
Rose.
Trustee Reinders, do you have anything to add to this? Trustee Consolino? Trustee Mason? Trustee Stylen? Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? Aye. Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we're moving on to what was consent item number 3, but is now LC. Where am I? L1. C. Consider for approval the 2 quotes from Reiki Interiors to remodel and improve 2 village offices in order to bring them up to date to match the rest of the interior as updated in 2016 for the total of $8,715. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Consolino, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Reinders? Trustee Consolino, do you have anything?
No.
Trustee Reinders?
I know that we've used them. Is this the same company that Gia, is this the same company that we used to do the event coordinating office? And they were very reasonable. I know that we had gotten some prices that were pretty high from other people, but they seem to be very competitive. So I think they're a good company. They did a great job.
Trustee Mason?
I'd like to know, I'm sure we've done other, go ahead.
Nope, Trustee Mason?
You're already started.
I'd like to know if this, I know it's not the first time we've done renovations to the building before, and if so, do we still have furniture from older renovations and things like that? Are we still in possession? Because isn't it supposed to go out to bid if we have old furniture for office, desks, chairs, lamps, whatever the case may be? Doesn't it go out to bid?
I don't think it's called bid, I think it's auction. Doesn't it go out to auction?
Okay, it goes out to auction. I'm just curious about that. I know that I asked for it to be moved because this is really the first time, besides getting the packet, of even hearing that we were going to need renovations. And I've seen most of the offices, and I feel that everybody's offices are pretty nice compared to where I work at corporate. So I don't think they're terrible by any means, and I thought that the quote was high myself, actually.
That was high.
Manager Morella can touch base on that, because I asked the same question earlier, and he did explain to me.
So what we're trying to do is,
Just leave it on.
yes. So what we do is we have 4 offices that have not been retrofitted with desks to accommodate, excuse me, to accommodate the employees. Melissa King's and Brett Westcott's office have not been modified yet. Gia's and Karen's are the other 2 that have not been modified. What we do find out is when we're in each other's desks, we can't even, some of them we can't even put a piece of paper on to go ahead and start discussing some conversations. I'm a big advocate about giving people the workspace they need, just so it's accommodating. So what I do is I let them design it, and then I nitpick the heck out of it, because I know what the prices are, and I don't want to see them inflated. So I these were several revisions on these to get it to the price that I felt comfortable with to bring to the board. So just so you guys are aware, these are very nitpicked before. I do have 2 other offices that I do need to get retro, and that's Melissa's and Brett's, but we'd like to know what they would need for their accommodations, so then we can move forward with that, so.
And I appreciate that. And I think that employees should definitely be comfortable, and I think it makes them more productive. My question, I think, goes back to what happens to the furniture? So do we put it out for auction? Have we done this in the past, and are we sitting on anything that should be going out to auction?
So
I'm just thinking about help offsetting costs.
So there was some leftover furniture from the previous building, which could not be retrofitted in the area. It was set up to go to auction. I think there was an ordinance you guys passed in 2021. We had no movement on it. Some of the pieces over time, because stuff gets shuffled, broken, damaged, so we're at that point.
So the stuff that we currently have, if these offices get re-renovated, that will go to auction?
Yeah, and a lot of times, like the...
I know it's going to be pennies on the dollar, right?
The maintenance guys would like to take a couple desks because they're short some desks. So, I know Parks just acquired a couple desks that they took from the basement and stuff too. So we do utilize what we have. So.
Well, that's good. That's what I'd like to see is it going places and being utilized. And okay, all right, you've answered my questions. Thank you.
Trustee Fialko?
Okay. We have had things go to auction, but sometimes it takes more staff time and work for the value that it is. A lot of times it's 10 years old, it's 7 years old, it's been used. And so there's limited things. And when he says that Public Works want to take it, they probably want to put it somewhere that they're going to do some work on it or something, I'm guessing. But a lot of times what I've seen is this equipment is so old it isn't worth putting it out there and spending staff's time. It costs you more to put it to auction than it does for the value that you get out of it. So sometimes it's just worth it just to either donate it or to throw it in the garbage. We did have some stuff go to auction not too long ago through Public Works. It was a generator and some other, there were about 5 things that were on the list, and I think we only sold 2 of the things, and the other 3 things are still in storage. I just got to see over at Anaco Drive. So it's just sitting there taking up space. They made the effort. So at that point, what, do you scrap it? Do you throw it in the garbage? Do you donate it? I mean, I think with the village manager, you should be able to take a look at those things and make that decision without too much of our input. I mean, to just get it done based on your own judgment. But usually surplus has to go. I know we auctioned phones off. We've had excess phones, and they got auctioned off. I think Gia Casson was involved with that, and they made some money on phones. So there's some things we can do that with, and there's other things that it isn't worth the effort.
Right, and I appreciate that, Trustee Fialko. I just want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and making sure that we're either donating it, we're either putting it to use somewhere, maybe the Public Works or whatever the case may be needs a area to sit and eat. I just don't, use it wisely, so to speak.
Sure. The only thing I'd like to close with is I think, for anybody that works at a desk for 8 hours, if they're comfortable, I think that's the first thing that should be taken into consideration. Are you comfortable? Is it safe, the desk? Is the chair safe? Do you have the room that you need to work in? So if like what we did with special events in the back and putting the counter up back there and making it functional, making things functional for the employees and making the employee happy is at the top of my list.
Is that all, Trustee Fialko?
Yep.
Thank you. Trustee Stylen?
Yes, I was just going to add first that all of that furniture that we have was donated to us. It really isn't quality furniture that we are getting rid of. I can attest to that. There is a question, though, just how the priority of which offices get handled first, because the 2 offices that aren't being done, one is a director and one is somebody who is a full-time, and one of the offices that we are buying the furniture for is for a part-time staff member. So it just would look better, I think, if you took care of the full-time members first before you took care of a part-time.
Isn't sometimes that logistics? So maybe Carmen could explain why you chose those.
Well, in the time of us trying to preparation to get these desks together, you know, Brett Westcott and Melissa King were in their height of the season, so I was kind of waiting until they slow down in their season so I can get their input on their desks. So that's why the priority happened, so, you know.
Do we have a time frame of when their offices will be done?
We're hoping to have them done either Christmas or January, so.
Okay, was there any more discussion? Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Reinders? Aye. Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? Aye. Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to legislation and action items. Item 1, Mayor's appointment to the Homer Community Festival Committee. The members that are being appointed today are members Mike Carlson, Tony Drabeck, Ethan Fialko, Mark Gowen, Jay Rohde, Paul McGarry, and John Walters. Is there a motion?
I will make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion, Trustee Fialko?
There sure is. We've removed one of the members from this list, who is Mike Bonomo. I know Mike Bonomo doesn't live in Homer Glen, but Mike Bonomo has donated hours and hours, endless hours of his time, was responsible for the senior event, was responsible for the veterans event, and donated hundreds of dollars in supplies. Cases of paper towels, cases of pop-up wipes, cases of nitrile gloves, cases of 55-gallon clear liners, 5 cases of 96-gallon liners, delivered in 2 hours after it was considered an emergency order. So I understand that, for one, I don't understand the benefit of removing somebody from the committee, because really, as a volunteer, anybody could come in and do the same thing. So all this does is upsets people on a committee by removing them for no reason that I can find, because I've worked side by side with Mr. Bonomo, and I have nothing but good things to say about him. I hope politics isn't the reason why this has gotten in the way, and I know that some things have changed a little bit as far as ordinances, but it really, to take a name off of there is not fair to the man that has donated hundreds of, and I don't know if it was hundreds, but it was a lot of 8-hour days and the whole year of the participating with the fest. Actually, I'd like to make the motion to add Mike Bonomo's name to this list. So I need I'd like to get a second to add Mike Bonomo's name back to this list.
Wait, hold on. Trustee Mason made the second. I think we should.
No, he made the second on the motion.
I think we should
itself,
finish
not
discussion.
Not the motion to amend.
Okay, can I add something to what you said before you make your motion?
Sure.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Fialko. Mike Bonomo was not removed from the committee. He was never a committee member. Our bylaws, our bylaws say you must live in Homer Glen to be a committee member. He was on your committee as a non-voting member.
Huh?
This is for committee members. This is not for non-voting members. Nowhere did I ever say politics were involved or whatever whatever accusations you just made. Those are not true.
I said I hoped it wasn't.
Yeah, but when you say I hope, we know where you're going with that, right? Because otherwise you wouldn't have said it. So Mike Bonomo is not being removed from anything. This is for committee appointments. Our ordinance says you have to live in Homer. Unfortunately, he lives in Lockport. I cannot appoint someone who lives in Lockport to a committee when our bylaws say something different, number one. Number two, you had actual residents apply for this committee that live in Homer Glen that you did not appoint. I think it would be unfair to go against our own ordinance and our own rules to appoint somebody who lives in Lockport to your committee. Now, if this said non-voting members, his name would be on there. And so would Lieutenant Taylor, who's a part of your non-voting members, Dave Bricker, Brent Woods, whoever else you have at those meetings. That's not what this is about. This is what was brought to me.
The first one that I received had Mike Bonomo's name on it. The second one I received today at 11 o'clock had Mike Bonomo removed. Under 10.6, for advisory purposes, the committee chairperson, with the advice and consent of the board, may appoint additional non-voting members to the standing committee that are not members of the standing committee and not residents of the village of Homer Glen. All committee members, subcommittees, task forces, and advisors shall serve at the pleasure of the chairperson and shall deem sufficient thereof.
Well, thank you for the clarification of what I just said. You must live in Homer to be a committee member. Where does it say?
You do not have to live in Homer.
Under the ordinance, it says you have to be a Homer Glen resident to be a part of the committee as a member.
It says right for advisory.
You're reading non-voting members. This is for voting members.
No, I am not. It's under membership, 10.6. But nevertheless, if that was the thing, I tried getting a hold of you a couple times today to clarify what was taking place. I'm sorry if it came out this way, but I do not want him removed anywhere from participating in Homerfest. And if you're good with that,
didn't say he couldn't.
If you're good with that, then I'm good with it.
I'm going by what I
stand up for
understand.
every member on that committee for all the hard work.
I agree. They did a fantastic job. Nobody said that they did a terrible job. And in fact, I sat here and said they did a great job. My point is I'm sticking with what our rules are. And from what I understand, you have to live in Homer Glen to be a voting member on a committee. Non-voting members can live in China. I don't care where they live. You just can't live, you just have to be a voting member, has to live in Homer Glen.
Correct. A voting member.
Correct.
But as a
He
member,
lives in
you
Lockport.
can still be a member and be on the committee.
This is for
a non-voting member.
Okay, let me explain what I'm talking about here. Committee members live in Homer Glen. Non-voting members can live wherever. Okay, this is for
But they're
committee.
still considered members.
My gosh. Okay. You can make your adjustment or your motion. I am not, this is my appointment. I am not appointing Mike Bonomo as a committee voting member. He does not live in Lockport. He does not live in Homer Glen. I'm sticking to our ordinances. Otherwise, we could all have members from different towns, which I was told we couldn't before when I was on a committee.
At our meeting where you made some changes, you said yourself that you wanted people that don't live in Homer Glen to be able to be on committees. That's what you said.
I don't remember saying that.
At the May meeting.
No,
that
I
was
said
part of
non-voting members.
No, and for this board did approve it according to the ordinance under 10.6, bringing Mike Bonomo and Jay Rhodey on at the same time. So I guess here's where I'm at with it. As long as you're all right with him participating at the same level that he's participating now, it really doesn't make a difference. And that's why I was wondering why you were removing his name, because he doesn't vote anyway, but he's a member. And if you, okay, he's not a member now, but what is he losing? Nothing. But he's still going to participate, so I'm good with that.
Well, thank you for agreeing with my appointment. I appreciate that. Carmen, can you clarify that for us? We had this discussion several times.
In order to be a voting member of our committee, you have to live in the village.
Thank you.
Right.
And the definition?
You can be advisory member, not voting, living outside.
And that's what he was and has
Right.
been.
And can you explain what this committee appointment is today for voting members? Thank you. And if you guys, if Trustee Fialko, if you want to bring forward non-voting members of the list of people, because Mike's the only one that you would have brought forward. And Mike, just for clarification, I have requested several times for him not to be on this. It was a mistake. I caught it yesterday.
Okay, well, when I got it at 11 o'clock today, I looked at it a different way, and I apologize for that. But Mike Bonomo will continue participating at the same level that he participates now.
Great, I hope he does.
He does not take and vote on anything anyway, although mistakenly, I think he voted on minutes one time. But we cleared that up. So as long as you're good with him remaining doing what he's been doing in the past, I'm good with that.
Great. And I'd appreciate if any more of those comments can be refrained until we hear the entire story. I don't want to waste any more time on nonsense.
No,
Who made the
anytime I have a question, I'll bring it forward just like I did if I think there's a problem. I tried contacting you all day. I understand there was a problem, but it's no disrespect to you. But when an issue comes up and this is where it has to be cleared up, this is where it's got to be cleared up.
And I tried to contact you yesterday regarding it.
Yeah. You did. Okay.
I did. Trustee Mason, do you have anything to add?
I'm glad we got it all cleared up. I understood it exactly to be voting members had to live in Homer Glen, and I'm all for it.
Trustee Steilen?
I was just going to say, we have a history of having advisory members. The Environment Committee has had advisory members, and they just list them separately. So if you want, you just don't list them as a committee member, you just say committee members and then list advisory members.
Is that all? Trustee Consolino?
If Trustee Fialco, who sits as the chair on this committee, is okay with this, then I support Trustee Fialco, but I would like to also request that we not be belittled or cut off for our opinions.
Perfect. Is that all?
Yes.
Trustee Reinders?
I just think, as long as he's on the committee, because I think he's really brought a lot to the table, and he worked very hard this year on the committee, with the committee. So as long as he's still a member of the committee, and if he votes or he doesn't vote, he's the kind of person that just likes to vote. He loves his community, and he feels that Homer Glen is his community. He's lived in Homer Glen for a long time. He just recently moved into Lockport. So I think he's an asset for the community and for his committee.
Thank you, Trustee Wright. Is that it?
That's it.
I also will say that Mike Bonomo is a great asset to this committee. He's been a great asset to the seniors committee and many other aspects of the village and the township. This was no way involved political. I'm going by what our own ordinances says that you guys had voted for. He is more than welcome to be on the committee as a non-voting member and continue what he does. I'm happy he's part of the committee.
Right, and originally that is how he was voted into this committee with Jay Rhodey at the same time, him as a non-voting member. But it was done under the pretense of member. And so that's maybe where the confusion is as far as the ordinance. I was speaking directly to the ordinance.
It was explained differently to me when I had asked. So
Understood.
Understand where the confusion. Is that it? Any more discussion? Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Steilen?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
No.
Trustee Fialco?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 2, consider for approval ordinance number 23-030, a request for special use permit to allow a swimming pool to be located in a side yard for certain real property located in the R5 Single Family Residential District at 13637 West Ironwood Circle, Homer Glen, Illinois. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? Trustee Mason, do you have anything?
I don't at this time. I think there's been other instances where we've given leeway, and I think this individual and resident should have the same consideration.
Thank you. Trustee Reinders?
I also believe that we should consider this. It seems like their side yard is basically really the only space. If you look at, I looked this over a couple times and actually even drove out there, and it's basically the only way that they can do it. And why should they have to not have a pool just because it's not in the right spot? So I'm all for it.
Trustee Fialco?
I see that the Planning Commission voted 5-0 to adopt the staff's findings. Melissa, would you have anything to add to it? I do see it's an odd-shaped yard. I don't see why we wouldn't vote yes for it. I'm in support of it right now. Would you have anything to add to it?
I do not, and I'm supportive.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Steilen?
I agree with pretty much everything that's said. It's a corner lot, and there's not much else you can do with a corner lot.
You could do.
Trustee Consolino?
I have no problem, since Planning Commission had no problem with it, and because there's no drainage issues, I think we're safe to go.
Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Fialco?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Steilen?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 3, consider for approval ordinance number 23-036, an ordinance requesting an extension of ordinance 21-025 that granted 1, a map amendment for A2 rural residential to C2 local business, 2, a special use permit for a planned unit development PUD with certain exceptions, 3, a special use permit for a drive-through establishment, 4, a site improvement plan, and 5, a preliminary plat for certain real property located in an A2 rural residential zoning district and C2 local business zoning district at 12121 with West 159th Street, Homer Glen, Illinois, case number HG 2210A PUD.
So moved.
I will second that.
Trustee Consolino?
No?
Trustee Fialko?
I just want to make sure that, Melissa, of
Yes.
course, I always ask you when we have extensions like this, nothing's changed on here that I can see, and nothing for the extension has changed.
Nothing
I know
has
the
changed.
next number that's in line here, L4, kind of parallels with this, but as far as extending this, I mean, it looks like they just finally got the final plot of the subdivision for that address, right?
We actually, the board approved the final plat in March, I believe, and they have been still working through some details, and they have some issues with, I would say, project management on the project. It's been going on for close to 3 years, so we'll be really excited if it gets to the finish line.
Right, so it's taken some time with this.
It has. They went to record the plat, and the county wanted to hold it for 5 days, and it just did not make it in time. And so we had to come back. We need the extension because the overall PUD will expire. The plat recording time, they didn't make the deadline, so
And
we
as far-
expect it will happen soon. I'm sorry.
As far as cleaning anything up on this, being that we have the opportunity, you don't see anything that needs to be cleaned up on this?
I do not.
Okay, thank you.
I forgot where I left off. Trustee Reinders?
Basically, it's just an extension, so nothing's changed.
No.
Trustee Stylen? No. Did I get everybody? Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 4, consider for approval ordinance number 23-037, an ordinance approving a final plat of subdivision, Will County Ace Plaza subdivision for certain real property located at 12121 West 159th Street, Homer Glen, Illinois, HG 2210A PUD.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Trustee Consolino?
Nothing.
Trustee Fialko?
I'm good.
Melissa?
I'm good.
Just want me to call
All right, and the way it
Staff
parallels
Key?
together with the other one,
Correct.
you're happy with everything that's there, right? Okay, nothing, no more from me.
Trustee Stylen? No. Trustee Mason?
Nothing.
Trustee Reinders?
No, nothing.
Okay, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 5, consider for approval ordinance number 23-038, an ordinance granting a variance to permit a mix of brick, stone, and cement board siding materials on the first floor of the dwelling in lieu of the exterior construction standards 75-67A of the Code of the Village of Homer Glen for certain real property located in an R1 single-family residential district at 14609 West 136th Street, Homer Glen, Illinois. And I realized I missed the parentheses there. It just says type of building or structure. Is there a motion?
I'll second it.
Trustee Reinders, do you have anything?
Joe, these materials that they're using, these are all approved materials within the
Yeah, it's
village?
consistent with the materials in the previous variances that have come before the board.
Okay.
Hardy board, siding, stone,
Okay.
veneer.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Trustee Fialko, you made the second, right?
Yes, I did, thank you. Joe, was this the house that came to us before that wanted to do all siding in the front?
No.
And that's not the
This
same?
is a new structure.
Okay.
It's actually
All right, I think Joe, you're happy with this, right? You would know.
consistent with the farm-style houses that we've been seeing lately.
All right, that's it for me.
Trustee Reinders, did you have something else to add?
No, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't what came before us.
Trustee Consolino?
And this one didn't have to go before planning, right?
No.
Trustee Stylen?
I think it's a beautiful house, and it'll be a really nice addition for the neighborhood.
Trustee Mason?
Mr. Baber, this is very similar to the one that did come similar to the one that came before us just a couple weeks back. And these are all the same materials, the hardy board, the brick, the facade. I think the current condition of the house compared to what it's going to look like is absolutely gorgeous, and I say, why not?
Great. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Trustee Reinders? Aye. Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? Aye. Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to item 6, consider for approval ordinance number 23-039, an ordinance accepting the street lighting in Phase 1 of the Villas of Old Oak PUD subdivision. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Reinders, is there a second? Anybody? Going once?
Second.
I'll second.
Trustee Reinders, do you want to go ahead?
I think this is just the first phase of the lighting. They're finished with the first phase of the townhouses, so they need to get the lighting in there so they can start moving forward with doing the modeling and getting people in there and taking a look at it. So I'm fine with it.
Trustee Stylen?
I just have to ask, it's all code compliant. There's nothing different, so.
Trustee Mason?
No, ma'am.
Trustee Consolino?
No.
Trustee Fialko?
None from me.
Okay, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? Aye. Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 7, consider for approval ordinance number 23-040, an ordinance amending sections 138-4C, 138-4E, and 138-4H to update the improved acre farm market value. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Consolino, is there a second?
Aye. So move.
You second?
Second.
Trustee Stylen? Was that Trustee Consolino that went first?
This came up before us last time, Village, like last year, same time, correct? This is a yearly?
This came up to us in A&F, and it never moved forward, so.
Okay.
But recent events, just to give some clarification, the school did a resolution and sent it to the village, so we figure we can act on it. Janie has more detail because she works with the schools on these, but we did want to bring this to the board because they were asking for some updates on it.
Do you consider this to be a pass-through tax, Village Manager?
I can explain a little.
More of an impact fee where, you know, a developer comes in and they're going to tear up the property and we need to take care of schools and not burden the other taxpayers in the area, so it passes through to the home that's being purchased at the time.
So does it pass through to the actual developer or to the homeowner?
It's the resident, because it's going to be incorporated into the price of the home. That's how they cost it out.
It's been handled both ways.
Yeah.
Just to answer that question.
Thank you.
Because it could be, we can also structure payment and negotiate development agreements or annexation agreements, or just require a time final plat, and they pay those lump sum impact fees, whether it be fire, school, parks, all those things. And then some of those agreements were never handled that way, and so those are, when they pull permit for a new house and development, they pay those at the time. So they are handled both ways.
I've paid a lot of attention to how much the school districts each have increased our tax levy for the past 4 years, and so, no, I'm not comfortable, so, thank you.
Trustee Stylen?
Yeah, I was just going, my only question had been, there was no motion made on this agenda, so does anyone know why somebody might not motion, but just...
There was a motion.
There was a motion.
No, when it went to A&F.
Oh, yes, I was at A&F at that time because it's a tax increase, definitely. It's a tax increase
Okay.
on the people buying the house, and we will not raise taxes on anybody in this community. That was our stance, and that is still my stance.
All right, well, I see property values going up, and I don't have a problem with it.
Trustee Reinders?
I have a problem with it. I mean, I think the residents are taxed enough, and, you know, it's just more of a burden. I mean, and how much money are we going to just keep charging these people every time they come to pull a permit for a house? It's like every time there's something new that's added onto it, and it's ridiculous. So I'm not in favor of it either.
Trustee Fielkow, I know you kind of spoke earlier, but that wasn't your turn. Did you want to speak again?
Oh, did you?
No, were you done? I'm sorry.
I'm done.
Okay, Trustee Fielkow, did I say Reinders? I'm sorry.
Just, the comment was made about in A and F, it didn't get motioned at all. You know, 3 trustees in there and the mayor in there, it didn't get motioned at all. It was looked at as a tax increase, and yeah, we could say it's a pass-through tax, but we have a hard enough time, well, the houses are selling well right now, but passing that on to somebody else, especially when the school districts have all raised the taxes and several other entities that their names are on there, I don't think that we should put any more tax burden on anybody that wants to move into Homer Glen. We're taxed enough, and this is just another tax that would be put on somebody that would be interested in investing in Homer Glen, and I don't see it as fair. I think the stability with taxes right now is at a point where it needs to be or remain where it's at, if not lower. So I'm not in support of this at all.
Trustee Mason?
I agree with the vast majority. I look at this as a tax at this time. I do feel that the schools are getting adequate funds from the taxations, and I feel that if you're going to continue to grow and continue to bring businesses and other residents into Homer Glen, that we're taxed pretty heavily as is.
Trustee Seiler, did you have something to add?
I think I'm not understanding something right. Isn't this like relieving some of the tax burden? Because this is an impact fee because people are bringing children into our school system, which are going to raise our taxes because we are going to be needing more schools. And this is to offset that. So if you're going to move here and bring children here, you're going to be adding to the schools. So I see that as a relief to the current residents who are here in Homer Glen.
That's correct. Can I just make a few background statements about what this is about? It really is not a new property tax on homeowners, especially existing homeowners. What it is they're one-time charges on new development. And the charge is proportional to the demand for new capital projects that growth causes to schools, to parks, to fire, and to library. That's what we have impact fees for in this community at this time. So when a subdivision comes in, there are children being added to schools. There is the need for more recreational capital projects, parks being built, and this is a way to incrementally accommodate that growth in those, and those needs are met for the capital projects without having to tax the entire base. This actually doesn't come anywhere close to accommodating what those real costs actually are, especially when you talk to the schools. But it is something that can help alleviate the cost of both land sites and school facilities, for instance. And it does help us grow our park system as new developments come on. So that's what it's all about. It is within our power to have imposed development impact fees. Municipalities do this across the board in order to account for the orderly growth that's necessary and the costs and burdens that that growth causes on a community. So that's the general philosophy behind development impact fees. So, and then the fair market value, it does have to be proportional, it has to be reasonable and defensible, so there is a formula, and part of what goes into that formula is the appraised fair market value for an improved acre of land in a school district, for instance. And so what the code requires is that when the school districts want an adjustment to the fair market value to bring it in line with the market reality, and to have that formula work, they need to have an appraisal, and they need to come forward to the village and get that updated in our code. The board has the authority to make the final decision and to act without the school districts coming forward like that.
but that's the typical mechanism for it. The last time that this was updated was in 2017. Yes, it does raise the cost to develop. And what happens is that the park donation as land or the fees in lieu of to help us pay for future parks is paid to the village at the time of plat approval, so that we are ensured that we get that taken care of before we lose that leverage on a development. And then how the practice has been that when they're coming in for building permits, the building department needs to see receipts that payments of impact fees to the other taxing districts, the library, fire, and schools has taken place before they'll issue the building permit. So it happens at typically at the building permit stage. And what that does is it actually helps developers on a cash flow basis. They don't have to pay for the entire thing all at one time up front like at plat approval, although our code does have that as the typical time that happens. But by practice, it's been a lot going on mostly prior to the issuance of building permits. So we are trying to help developers out that way.
Janie, but the developers, right now, the developers are the ones who are paying the fees that go to the parks.
Right.
This would be the homeowner that would have to pay this fee.
No, to clarify, the developer is the one that is charged, okay, for both parks and schools and library and fire. But of course, every time your cost of doing business goes up,
right,
you pass it through, right?
Right, exactly.
So it does get reflected, but it's not a dollar for dollar. It's not like a line item in your price of buying a new home from the developer.
There are instances too where an individual is building their own single-family home, they're acting as the contractor, and they pay that directly. It's
Right,
not a
they pay,
developer.
they pay it directly at that point in time, but most of the time, it's the developer that actually is the one who's making the contribution to the village.
It's the way that their contracts are structured, generally who's paying that. If it's
So
a
this,
developer, it's
so this basically wouldn't come from the developer, this what comes directly from the resident.
ultimately, probably.
Right, and then
The person building the house.
per the cost of the home, but yet the resident is already going to be paying 68% of their tax bill? So, I don't get it. That's not right.
Trustee Fialko, did you have something you wanted to add?
We can spin it any way we want. It's a tax. It's a tax that is going to be paid by the builder. The builder's going to pass it on to the homeowner who buys that property. We don't need to do that. School taxes already are at 70% of our tax bill or larger. It's 70 to 75% of our bill is from the school systems. They just had a huge tax increase. There's no reason to do this at this time, I don't believe. I don't want to scare people away from Homer Glen. I want people to come to Homer Glen and invest in Homer Glen. And maybe they'll open up a business in Homer Glen. I don't know. But throwing another tax out there, especially right now with how things are going, I think this is like it was last year. I don't think it's necessary at all. And however somebody wants to spin it, it's a tax.
Trustee Stylen.
Sorry.
When a new home is built, and maybe somebody can help me out here, usually your tax bill is not, like you're not paying that full tax bill that first year you move in there, because it's based on the old, before the building was there. So, and they're already living there. I remember that when I moved in here. Does somebody?
The year prior.
Huh?
Your tax bills for the year prior.
Right. So they're moving here for a year, and they're not paying that same bill.
Right, they're not paying it, but yet at the closing, the seller is paying the tax. So either way.
But it's at a lower rate because it's new construction.
The school is still getting that tax money, is what I'm trying to say. They're still getting the tax money.
And they're going to need it.
And then when that person sells that house, the person that's buying it doesn't pay it, the person that was in it pays it. So it trickles down. It doesn't.
There was no house there before. It was vacant land.
It still doesn't justify putting the tax on there, in my opinion. I still think no matter which way it tries to be spun, it is a tax. And we're overtaxed already. And I don't think we're losing anything by voting this down.
Janie, sorry, go ahead. Do you have comparables from other towns?
In 2017, we did study, we had comparables from other towns.
17, 6 years ago?
2017, yes.
We don't have anything
This
more
was not,
updated?
this did not generate a comparative study of what's going on in other towns.
I think for the fair market value, Lockport should be Lockport's ordinance here, right?
Right, but...
No, you're looking at the Board of Education's resolution.
Yeah.
And it was, and what they did is they had the appraisals from the feeder elementary school districts for each, 33C and 92, each did an appraisal. They feed into 205. 205 looked at it and said, this is, for each school district respectively, this is the fair market value based on the appraisal that we did. So, and just to clarify, this is a one-time charge, so it's not something that ends up on you'll never see it on your property tax bill, per se.
Okay. I personally see both sides, because it is a one-time, but it stops, like when I built my house, I had to pay those fees individually.
Right.
And seeing that big number was a sticker shock, and not looking at the increase is even bigger now. But I do understand by paying those fees for new development, it does help the current residents not lower, but stabilize theirs.
So I guess one way of looking at this too would be if development impact fees are not used or they're not made relevant with fair market value, the school costs don't go down, for instance, right? So as enrollment increases or the projections increase for future enrollment and they are doing their capital planning and budgeting for future, they look to see what are we going to need, and then they are going to look to see how are we going to raise that, and that could ultimately come back and impact property tax bills.
Madam President, could I make a comment?
I was just going to,
Okay.
I saw you have your
Thanks.
hand up. Yeah, I just want to give everyone a chance.
Respectively, these school boards, all three of them in our districts, have increased their tax levies for the past 4 years. I know this for a fact. This past December, two of them, it was over 7%. One was at 7.55%, and then the other was 6.14%. So the school boards have increased their tax levies religiously for the past 4 years. I don't know about since 2017, but this also resembles, you call it an impact tax, but we know it's going to be passed to the consumer. It's going to make it more expensive for somebody to buy here in Homer Glen. We've kind of been gearing towards trying to bring in seniors, that wouldn't have kids going into their school districts. So then they're left paying, again, an increase in taxes, or increase in fees due to school districts when they don't get to take advantage of them. But it reminds me of like when you give the impact fee of taxing residents that leave the state or leave a community. Burbank does that. There's a little tag, price tag at the end. And I look at that like punishment. So you're punishing people for coming into Homer Glen because our fair market value has gone up. So no, this is, like I'm saying, I wanted it on the record just how much the school districts have been increasing the tax levy and increasing our property taxes for 4 years in a row. So that's all I have to say.
I think just to be clear, we're not removing the tax that's already there. We're just not increasing it. So I think that wasn't discussed. I think that was important to say, I think.
Are there any final closing
Nothing
comments?
else from me, though.
Just that's the park fee that's in there, and the cost of the park land has probably gone up in 6 years. So that fee that's you're impacting on that is making up for the difference. When you want to go build a new park and that new subdivision that comes in, you're going to be paying more, and that impact fee is being appropriate for the price increase of the property.
We don't have a park district, so we don't have a tax line item on our tax bill that actually contributes to the park fund.
No, that park fee goes into the park fund.
No, I'm talking about from the developers, yes, but we don't have on our real estate tax bill, like the schools, like he said, 70-something% of our tax bill now is the schools. but we don't have a line item on our real estate tax bill that shows any money going to the schools. So I could understand where the developer or somebody is going to pay something towards the parks, because they're going to be utilizing the parks, and there is no funding source other than the gas tax.
But this is how they pay for it, right? This is how they pay for it.
This and the gas tax.
Huh?
This and
Right, and the gas tax, but this is the developer's fee that he's paying for that subdivision that's coming in, and you're building a park, and that's how that's calculated.
No, I understand that part of it, but what I'm saying is
It's a one-time.
schools are still getting money regardless. They're getting money regardless. They are the biggest portion of our tax bill.
70 to 75%.
Yeah, up to 75%, but yet we don't have a line item on our tax bill that funds our parks.
I know that.
It's the schools that are asking for this. not-
No, isn't this
This affects the fair market value in this section of the ordinance. It would impact all.
It impacts all of our
All
fees,
of the
whether it's fire, schools, or parks. It impacts all of them, because this is what we're saying, an acre of land costs within the village. So when we go and ask for that developer for a park, their park fee, we're going to base it on $80,000 instead of $100,000.
Correct.
I understand that, but you're missing my point.
Is there any closing comments?
I think what Rose was trying to say is there's not a light on them, so they can't pull it out and use it just for parks. That the school district, the fire district, and everybody else that's involved in this also, as I believe what you were trying to say. Yeah, I still look at it as a one-time impact fee is what I think it is. And, bottom line, it all dribbles down and it goes back to the residents. And I know my taxes are astronomical.
Can we call?
I agree, the school taxes are a bit much. Okay, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Consolino?
No.
Trustee Fialko?
No.
Trustee Mason?
No.
Trustee Reinders?
No.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Motion fails. Moving on to item 8. Consider for approval ordinance number 23-041, an ordinance amending Homer Glen Village Code Section 10-5 and 10-9 relating to standing committees and amending standard operating procedure number 001. Is there a motion?
I so moved.
Is there a second? Yeah.
Second.
Okay, so I was going to say, because I was not aware, was this tabled?
Now is the time we table it.
Okay, so,
We have a motion to approve it.
right, so I know you guys made the first and second, but I just wanted to say something. I did not request for this to be on here because I haven't had a chance to talk to each committee member to make sure that the SOP is the way your committees would like to see it. I wanted feedback from each of you, so I did ask that it not be on the agenda, but it is here. So I knew I wasn't going to be here, asked for it to be tabled. I wasn't here to know if it was tabled or not, so I wasn't sure.
All right, so then I'll make a motion to rescind my
Motion to approve.
motion to approve
Motion to table.
and motion to table.
So we are now voting on motion to table.
First by, in second.
So moved.
Is that okay with all of you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, guys. I'll send you guys an email on that one. Moving on to 9, consider for approval ordinance number 23-035, which is amendment to the ordinance 21-035, regulating the use of off-road motor vehicles in the village of Homer Glen.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Oh, sorry, I said second. Is there a second? Trustee Consolino.
I think everybody on this board knows where I stand on this.
What's
so-
that?
I think everybody on this board knows where I stand on this. So a little background, I'll let Joe speak in a second to this effect because now I'm out of the loop, but a lot of work was done on this ATV ordinance. There was also a lot of resistance that was taken into consideration, and so a lot of the verbiage was changed. We also mimicked a lot of what New Lennox's ordinances, thanks to Lieutenant Taylor on that one, and so we were looking to do permits for golf carts, because that seems to be a huge desire by our community. And we also lessened the fines, so unless anything has changed, I'll give to Joe or give to Trustee Mason.
Well, shouldn't we go through each of the trustees first?
Trustee Fielko, you say, Jennifer?